What if I told you that the Federal Reserve just laid the groundwork to legally print $1 trillion out of thin air without raising taxes or adding to the national debt? Now, that might sound impossible, right? But on August 1st, buried on the Fed's own website, they published a research paper titled The Official Reserve Revaluations, the International Experience. Now, that sounds pretty crazy, but what does it say? Because in it, they openly talk about revaluing gold as a budget-neutral way to boost government spending. At the end of the day, my friends, it's all about more government spending. The timing on this for the federal government is actually pretty convenient because right now the US is staring down the barrel of a fiscal crisis with debt to GDP over 120%, a budget deficit 7% higher than last year, and no political will to ever cut spending. In fact, the government, as evidenced by Donald Trump's latest bill, just wants to continue spending money that they likely don't have and will never have. Now, my friends, at the end of the day, this is the challenge that we're all facing. We are facing a government that is out of control, that is spending money recklessly, and now they're looking for a way to do it in a way they've never done before. So we're not just talking about a ticking time bomb here, we're talking about the fuse being lit. So the question becomes, what if gold revaluation actually happens? Let's dive into this. Right now, the US holds 261.5 million ounces of gold. At least they say they do. But on the books, it still has a value of just $42 an ounce. That's the legal price that was set decades ago. Now compare that to today's market price of over $3,300 an ounce. That's a 7,750% difference in the current valuation on the Fed's books in real gold valuations today. So if the Treasury were to simply mark to market the value of its gold, that would create an accounting gain of nearly $1 trillion. Not by selling the gold, but by revaluing it on paper. And the paper gain, well, that could be monetized immediately. So if you're still banking on your 401k to retire you, I've got some bad news for you. It's not gonna happen. I mean, not with rising taxes, not with inflation eating you alive, and definitely not with Wall Street bleeding you dry. So listen, I want you to consider this. I retired in under 10 years and I didn't use crypto. I didn't use the market. I definitely didn't use any broke financial advisors. I used a simple 3-step system that I now call the passive income machine. I'm gonna be breaking down the entire thing in a free live workshop this week. So if you've made good money, but you still don't feel free, this one is for you. Here's what I want you to do. Click the first link in the description below because there's only a few seats left. I'll see you on the presentation. But this is where things get crazy interesting. The Fed's own paper outlines 3 primary methods for using the central banks globally. Number 1, the Fed revalues its gold and transfers the paper gains to the government. Number 2, a revaluation account is created to move the gains directly to the Treasury. Number 3, the Fed keeps the gains to cover its own losses, cleaning up its balance sheet. In every scenario, no new taxes are created, no new borrowing is done, just legal money printing, masked as a budget-neutral maneuver. And if you think this is not just theory, think again. Congress is already considering it. A new bill called the Bitcoin Act includes a clause to revalue gold certificates held by the Fed and force them to remit the difference to the Treasury. Now, the translation of all of this is it's a legal workaround to inject $1 trillion into the US budget without going through the traditional channels. This is the biggest maneuver I've ever seen the government consider. They're literally going to bypass everything and just print $1 trillion. Now let's zoom out for just a moment and talk about why gold and why now. Because gold is the only real monetary anchor left. It's the only asset on the Fed's balance sheet that hasn't been reinflated. It's static until it's not. This move isn't about gold itself, it's about liquidity, it's about legacy debt, it's about delaying the consequences of decades of reckless spending. And history shows us this pattern clearly. In 1934, FDR didn't just confiscate gold, he revalued it. He bought it at 20.67 an ounce, then revalued it to $35. That gave the government a 69% instant gain in spending power. It wasn't about gold, it was about funding deficits without spooking the public. This might sound familiar because this is what they're proposing to do all over again. Look, I've been shouting this from the rooftops for years. The government is going to print money. This is what they do. It won't be with a press conference though, it'll be under the radar, under the guise of economic resilience or monetary modernization. Now, these are just big words to realize reckless spending. The government, when they print money, is injecting new money into the economy, which is what causes inflation. Prices going up is the result of inflation. New money entering the economy is what causes inflation. And the government is on the verge of doing this at a massive level yet again. And the impact of this is going to be the same. More dollars chasing the same goods, higher prices, eroded savings, and more people stuck in the rat race, wondering what the heck happened. That's why we don't play the Wall Street game. That's why we use vaults. That's why we build passive income machines that are inflation hedged, tax protected, and positioned outside of the government system. Because that system, it's not built for you. It's built to preserve itself. So if you're wondering what to do with all of this insanity, let me give you the real easy playbook. You front run what the government's gonna do. If they're going to revalue gold, not just ETFs, not just a certificate that says you have gold somewhere, real gold, tangible, outside of the financial system. If they're going to print, own real assets, assets that rise with inflation, that generate cash flow, assets that put money in your pocket while everyone else is watching their money disappear. If they're going to hide inflation behind legal accounting gimmicks, don't be the one left holding devalued dollars. You don't beat the system by complaining about it. You beat it by positioning yourself ahead of it. That's why we build vaults. That's why we build real estate portfolios that pay us every single month. And that's why we teach people how to engineer tax-free income. Because at the end of the day, the government might be able to manipulate the money, but they can't manipulate the principles of wealth. So here's the challenge. Don't just watch this happen. Position yourself for it. Because this isn't just about gold, it's about freedom. In the world where the rules are constantly changing and they're changing fast, and oftentimes the rules are changing masked under the guidelines or masked under the vocabulary of modern monetary theory or modern monetary policy. All of that is meant to confuse you. It's meant to keep you in the dark so you don't realize what they're actually doing. They are changing the rules of the game. They are devaluing your money, and every single time they say they're going to print more money, it's going to wreak havoc on your financial economy unless you're positioned to benefit from inflation instead of getting destroyed by it. The ones who thrive aren't the ones who follow, they're the ones who see the pivot and make it first. So if you want to see the quickest, most proven method to retire in 10 years or less, watch this next video right now.